So, One Punch Man, chapter 100.2, Light. This chapter was how I feel at the moment. And I feel bad. No, sorry, I meant to say sick. The chapter was sick. Got ya. So, chapter 100.2 was very good. And I think the best way, this chapter was basically the you've got to be kidding me chapter. Be in the best way, this chapter was the you've got to be kidding me chapter. Because, like, a few times throughout this chapter I was just going, you've got to be kidding me. Like, never like in a, like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened, this is terrible, in a way, like, how are they going to get out of this? Oh my god, this is great. Oh my god, this is great. But let's start talking about the chapter. So, the chapter starts off where we ended off last time with Child Emperor launching the Millennium Emperor Nova up into the atmosphere and seemingly destroying Phoenix Man, and the brave giant is now kaput, as we now know, as obviously the situation's all kind of, as it's pretty much destroyed. And the first you've got to be kidding me moment, of course, was the reveal that Phoenix Man was alive. Now, I thought Phoenix Man would have been alive, and I thought he would have survived the Millennium Emperor Nova, but I thought he would have, like, been blasted away by the Emperor Nova, and then come back later on, like, even more powerful, just beside him, and just to bash him in one, just to be like, hey, this is a joke. But no, he came back, and he had, like, such a great re-entrance bit where, like, I see even the heavens have blessed my new might as king, and, you know, it's a really great entrance, like, and obviously, like, his new kind of design has been altered, like, I imagine permanently. I mean, like, you know, that says a lot about the Millennium Emperor Nova, is the fact that obviously, like, he was permanently scarred and burnt from that. Despite Phoenix Man's regenerative abilities, he was still that badly damaged from it, and it didn't seem like he was healing, like he left permanent marks, which says obviously a lot about Phoenix Man's ability, like regeneration, to, you know, survive that massive attack, but also it says a lot about Child Emperor's attack, the fact that it permanently kind of damaged this, like, this really powerful regeneration factor that Phoenix Man has. So something I do like about this, like, whole exchange between Child Emperor and Phoenix Man now is it's not something that is necessarily just all the information's given to you and you have to think about it at the same time. So first of all, like, waganma, I'll talk about him more later, but god, he's just a little scumbag, isn't he? Like, I've said this before, but the fact that obviously Child Emperor's risked his life for him, you know, like brave giant, you know, he's gone all out and he's like, save me, save me. The moment, like, it's looking bad, he's like, hey, I didn't do anything. Child Emperor did all the fighting, so you should just go after him and leave me alone. It's like such like a little scumbag move. Like, he's got no loyalty to the people who are trying to help him, and we'll talk about this more later, because that ending. But what I mean by this whole, like, you've got to pay attention to it is, I know how, like, in other stories, they'd, like, so Child Emperor's kind of like, well, nah, you can't break into me, I'm gonna be fine here, you know, like, I've got, like, you know, I'm confident in, Brave Giant's shield and hub defenses, so yeah, you can't break through this, it's gonna be fine. And you have to think about, like, you think about it because you're like, Child Emperor, what are you on about? Because last time you saw it, Phoenix Man is, you know, Phoenix Man, like, tore off your arm super easily, and then on top of that, like, you know, he seems to have suddenly given up in the fight, and obviously after losing his last big attack, but he doesn't seem like it, so then straight away you're like, he's got something planned, and you figure that out, and I do like that you have to think about it a bit more instead of Child Emperor just going, I have a secret plan, and oh, I gotta pull it off just right. But also, something I did really like is just, like, some couple of tidbits we got, and honestly, like, just kind of, like, the framing of certain things in this chapter. So, like, for example, we learned that there is a tech team in the Monster Association, and I'd like to see more of them. Maybe whenever Drive Knight gets involved, we'll learn more about that. But, like, because everyone was like, oh, G5 might be, like, you know, the one who dismantled, Metal Knight's suit from before, but it turns out there's an actual tech team who did that to Metal Knight's suit, so I would like to see more about this tech team. I don't think they'll play a big role, of course, but it'd be interesting to see what they can do and how they're involved in the story. But when I talk about the framing, I meant more about how, like, Phoenix Man, when he's explaining this whole thing, and then, like, as he grows more serious, like, we don't see both sides of him anymore, it changes just fully to his, like, deformed, burnt and scar side, and he's like, you know, originally I was just going to let you off with a quick, painless death, but after all you've done to my suit and my pride, I will torture you to the ends. And then it was just so, like, well framed, and obviously, like, you know, the shading just goes completely black on his face, and, like, you know, he's obviously really angry, as we saw from his facial descriptions before, but it was just this great moment of just seeing, like, everything go down as, like, Child Emperor taunts him. He's like, you can't get to me. And Phoenix Man just like, you ever heard of the woodpecker? how it just drills very quickly and silently into one spot. That's what I'm going to do right now to your suit. And he goes boom, and he flies. And then I do kind of like the deformed side, because obviously he changes into his Falcon mode, but no, changes into his Hawk mode, sorry. But then at the same time, like, the deformed side of him he stays that way too. It looks like more like a bat more than anything, but I do like it. It's cool. I think, obviously, like, you know, it's this, like, you know, he's a monster kind of thing, and how cool he's looked before is, like, a bit more menacing. But then, just that quick plan of Child Emperor actually, like, using it to try and trap him and escape, and we're like, oh, that must be the plan. And then, but at the same time, the real plan being the bug, I thought was brilliant. I really loved that. But the reveal at the same time to us that the two ninjas are actually alive. Big surprise on that one. I did not see them genuinely, like, living. So I wonder if there was something to do with it, because they seem more zombified before. So they seem fully, yeah, they just seem fully healed, and I don't really know how that's worked. Like, whether there was some kind of reaction to Phoenix's man's abilities combined with, like, the the Gigavolt stuff, like maybe like a Frankenstein kind of thing, you know, how like the bolt of lightning brought the monster back to life, if there's anything like that at all. That's like the closest thing I can think of to it. Also because their death was fairly recent in comparison to, obviously, you know, Subterraneans, who we assume have died like weeks or months ago, or however long they have been in the underground. So very quickly they make their escape, and we'll talk about that later. But what I actually love about this whole thing is just how the fight ends. I think it's such a brilliant thing, because as much as I love One Punch Man, as, like, it does great fight scenes and great action scenes, which I love, I do tend to forget that the fact is, you know, it likes to make fun of shonen stuff, and it just ends in such, like, an anticlimactic way at the same time. So instead of ending in, like, this big, massive beam, it just ends with, like, the tickle bug, which I thought was great, because it's Child Emperor's, like, it's actually one of my darkest inventions, because it will tickle you until you run out of breath and you die. And it's just so simple, and that's the reason Phoenix Man gets defeated, just by a little toy bug. Oh, it was just great, because at first, like, it confused you why Phoenix Man starts laughing, right? Because you think, is he that confident he's won? And then by just being, like, trying to get the suit out, because he would have died that way, but if not, like, he tears the suit open, and then, like, it ruins his abilities, because that suit was his power, and now he's, like, defenseless. Child Emperor's like, right, that's it, dual leg attachment, and he, like, grabs him, just kicks him straight in the balls, and, like, and then he just, like, tears the suit apart, and that's how he gets beat. And honestly, I'm fully okay with this. I think it reminds me a lot of just, like, I love these kind of endings to it. I think it was actually, I think it was better. I enjoyed it more than the Beam, because it reminds me of, like, you know, the Genos versus Awakened Cockroach. That was a great fight, but then how does it end it? With, like, machine gun blows or, like, a massive incineration kind? No, Genos is like, I got glue in my shoes, and then that's how the fight ends. Sure, like, Awakened Cockroach gets away, but he would have died otherwise. I just like those kind of, like, anticlimactic endings like that, which is what One Punch Man is mostly about, really. Like, you get these, like, good endings here and there, of course, but, like, obviously, you know, our character is the guy who beats everyone in one punch. A lot of endings are just anticlimactic like that, unless there's something, like, deeper supposed to happen there. So, yes, I really appreciated that. That was just, it was funny as well. It was just great. I'm obviously, like, I'm not 100%, so I'm sorry if I'm not, like, as, like, oh my god, this is amazing! But it was really good. Meanwhile, we saw someone I never thought we'd see in this chapter, and that's Saitama, and I'm so happy we saw him. Like, I've been missing him, I'll be fully honest, like, I've been missing him. Considering he's the main character, we haven't seen him that much, like, in a few months, really, so the fact that he's, like, here, and he's just underground walking around, and then at first I was thinking, maybe he's kind of close to Child Emperor, but then obviously because the two ninjas show up, it's kind of like, it's unpredictable, because obviously I wouldn't be surprised if that, like, the Millennium Emperor Nova, like, shook the entire foundation of the organisation, because it's that big, and then of course ninjas that fast, they could be anywhere in the association. So, that moment, I just love it. That moment where the two ninjas are, like, a hero, and the look on their faces change. That panel, just where the two ninjas go, and Saitama just, like, just, I was like, someone's gonna die! And it's probably gonna be me. I just love that moment, because I was like, are we gonna get him? It's just that brief moment of, like, are we actually gonna get a fight? And also, if it obviously didn't happen, but it is something I'm curious about, because something that Saitama has, like, that I've seen throughout the series, it's never been something that's, like, explicitly said, but I'm sure a lot of people noticed, is Saitama kills monsters, but he doesn't kill humans. So I wonder what his interest would be in if there was someone who's a human but could transform into a monster at will. Like, what is his viewpoint on that kind of thing? And I know it's not something Saitama's necessarily going to say, my viewpoint on this is this, but like, I'm curious to see how he deals with that kind of situation, mostly because I imagine this is what's going to happen with Garo, because Garo will eventually turn into a monster, and then Saitama will have to fight him, and Saitama, I don't know whether Saitama's going to kill him or not, because obviously we've spent a lot of time getting to know Garo, but at the same time, if he's a monster, then Saitama's going to kill him, because he's a monster, like, he's given up on humanity itself, and that's kind of like the ultimate, like, no, you're against us now. So, obviously the ninjas are naked, and it's just like, it's Sonic 2.0, like, you've seen for our moves, I'm sure, like, you know, he's like, you've seen for our moves, we can't allow you to live, and then, but we have to go, and he's like, guys, you're naked! Why are you naked? You're disgracing you! You're disgracing me! Stop being naked! And it's just this great, like, Saitama, I missed Saitama, just his little quick, like, you're naked. Why? Go, get out of here. So they're like, well, I have to see you, like, goodbye, because we have someone else to deal with, like, but we will return for you. I'm like, please do. I hope if anyone else survives these fights, any, like, heroes who lose, their fights, Saitama's the one who gets it, and maybe it's like going to be like a big group fight of like all the monsters versus Saitama originally. Like, this is too much too many fan ideas at this point, but in my head I'm just like, if it's going to be like Ginyu Force versus Goku, so like they were like, oh, we only need this one guy, and then obviously boom, they're like, oh no, we better team up, and then obviously it's going to go boom, 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 but I love that idea, and we'll see how it goes. So, we then cut back to the fight between Child Emperor and Phoenix Man wrapping up, with Child Emperor fully destroying Phoenix Man's suit, getting it out of the way, and honestly, I think this fight is such a great way to end. Well, it was just a good fight in general. This was a good one to end off the year with, but I think it was such a great introduction to Child Emperor, not only just for us to see more than anything what the S-Class hero can really do, because so far we've only seen opportunities of him, like, talking, and we've seen him briefly in side chapters, and briefly, like, trying to keep the S-Class heroes together and trying to do all this extra work, but then we get to see, like, his S-Class hero side, the side of him that's a fighter, and more importantly, the side of him that is a thinker, because it's his brains that won him the day in the end, and I thought, really, I think Child Emperor, originally I was like, Child Emperor should win this fight, but this is such a credit due to what the world One and Murata have set up, you know, the fact that I felt that Child Emperor might not win this. Only, like, near the end, like, there were times where I was like, okay, how's he going to do this? Like, that was my constant question throughout this fight, including the very end, like, especially after the Millennium Supernova, which was his strongest attack, that bit afterwards, with Phoenix Man, it does really make you go, how is he going to do this? So then the fact that it wasn't like, you know, and this is where Child Emperor's brains really shone through, the fact it wasn't like the massive blast that defeated, like, the villain, it was the tiny jab, you know? That's all it was. That was the difference between, like, the Millennium Supernova and the Tickle Bug. That's what it was. And the Tickle Bug's the one that won the day in the end. And I suppose, it was all about trying to lure Phoenix Man to that point. Maybe that was his plan from the very beginning, if the Emperor Nova didn't happen, or maybe that was just his backup plan because he was already thinking about it. It's a great introduction to Child Emperor. It shows what S-Class Rank 5 can do. He can hold his own, like, he's obviously shown his abilities, and, like, even, like, he didn't give up no matter what, so, like, he's a good hero in that sense. Like, I know some heroes, like, we can't do this, I've got to go, but he recognises if I can't do this, no one else will. Or if I let him get away, he's going, like, that's a bad move. I just thought it was really good for Child Emperor. I think that's the best way to describe it, you know. Good fight, and a great way to show this is what Child Emperor can do, and prove people wrong. Me partially as well. I wanted Child Emperor to beat him. At first, near the end, I was like, okay, maybe Saitama's going to beat him, but no, I'm so glad Child Emperor was the one who got the victory in the end. It was great. Then, we get to Waganma. Waganma. What a little scumbag. Genuinely, like, okay, so, let's talk about this. So after Child Emperor has come, and after Child Emperor has finished defeating Phoenix Man, Waganma comes over, and he's like, that was a tough battle even for US classes. Wow, you really need to get your act together if you're going to get me home safe. Is a thank you too much for the kid who's just risked his life trying to save you, who's given everything he's got just to save you? Like, who knows how bit different the battle would have been if Waganma wasn't there at the same time, being a partial hindrance to Child Emperor. And then, to top it off, he goes, Child Emperor's like, I need to ask this one thing. Waganma, is anyone else here that you know of that's a prisoner? Then he thinks of Tario. What's his one memory of Tario? It's Tario being genuinely nice to him. Just saying, oh, I've got some candy if you want some. And of course I remember because Waganma just snatched that up and was like, whatever, that's all you got. He goes, no one else is here. He smiles as he says, no one else is here. What the like, genuinely, what the fuck? I'm really not okay with this kid. But I think it's great that this kid is such a little scumbag, because obviously as they go off, you know, he's like, and like, he's like, but it does such a great job of kind of setting up, I think, future stuff as well, because, right, obviously Waganma's like, he's a little shit, let's face it, he is, and I hope he has a moment, like, where someone kind of, like, speaks to him and is like, stop being such a little shit. If it was anyone, it'd be Saitama, because that's kind of what he does, he speaks from the heart. Maybe someone else will, I don't know, only because Saitama kind of have that moment in a side story with the girl with the cat, if you remember that one, where he's like, I don't care. And it's something that's been touched on briefly in the first part of the chapter, in 100.1, where we see that brief glimpse of Phoenix Man's backstory, where, like, you know, he was on his knees for some reason, and his boss spilt his, like, he, like, poured his drink on him and told him to, like, get out, and it's this poor treatment. And I suppose, looking further into monsters, you know, it's nature versus nurture. From what we've seen, some people are just bad, and we can't help that. Some people, and obviously it's also true of how they're raised, but, and we don't need to go into that much detail about that bit, like, but some people, they're just destined to become monsters because they just have because they're just bad people. However, the nurture side of it is there are people who have the possibility to be bad, who are made worse and become bigger monsters due to the people that they interact with. We see that with Phoenix Man, who became an incredibly powerful monster, not due to just the ability of his suit, but from a base, he was a demon rank monster because of the treatment he received in his life. And we don't obviously know all of it, but the abuse from his boss certainly didn't help. And we see this with Orochi. You know, a negative influence like Yorogoro was constant on him, which led him to become such a powerful monster. And we obviously don't know if, I think Yorogoro we can assume has a human form, but it's just this thing of, like, you know, monsters are monsters, right? But are humans the real villains? That sounds way too, like, fairy and deep. But you know what I mean, you know, like, it's the negative influence of humans that lead people to become monsters, and these people in higher up power are certainly not helping this. We've got kids like Waganma, and, like, who's the influence of Waganma? Oh, it's his dad, Narinki, and obviously the other members of the Hero Association. Especially if you read the side chapters, you know it's a corrupt organization. It's not great. No, they're not great. And, like, I'm concerned, and, like, I hope Narinki and Waganma get something that's coming to them, because, like, even when we first met them with Metal Bat, and they were like, oh, we gotta do this, and, like, we could just do this and that, and Metal Bat's like, no, don't do that, because that's the rules, you know, you have to follow the rules, and they're just like, and they ignore the rules, because they're that high up in power. And I'd like to see, I'm looking forward to that point where this is eventually handled in the future. But I don't think it'll be this arc, because obviously, so maybe, well, I think Waganma and Narinki will, but I think eventually, like, you know, the corruptness of the Hero Association and the corruptness of, like, higher powers and things like that. Because it's been teased at for a bit. Even, I think, with people like, what's his face? The Golden Turd. If I say that, you'll know who I mean. I'll put a name down below. But yes, that's something that's been bothering me in a good way, because I think it's a great way to set up future bits of the story. But yes, overall, like I said, sick chapter, you know? I think it was a fantastic way to end the fight. I thought it was very funny and enjoyable. I like that Hellfire and Gale Wind are alive, because obviously eventually when we learn more about the ninjas, I hope they play a bigger role, unless they do die in this arc, which I might not be surprised if they're going after Flashy Flash again, who fairly easily took him on his own, really, let alone any other S-Class heroes who are there, who they run into, who might actually body them, like Tatsumaki. But yes, overall, and then obviously Saitama came back, I love that. Child Emperor, it's a great way to show us what Child Emperor can do. Phoenix Man, you know, great villain. I'm sad to see him go, but overall, you know, he went out in some of the best ways, you know, he had some of the best moments of the year. So yeah, overall, really good chapter, but what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more, and give it a like if you like this review. Thank you all for watching. I apologise, I'm not 100%, so the energy isn't like, oobity-doobity. But yeah, sorry about that, and hopefully have a nice day, and I'll probably see you next year. Or if it's this year. If it's January, we see the upload schedule, I'll probably see you next year. Cool, okay. See you guys.